So we have talked about controllers in bit detail, but there are more and more advanced things regarding controller, but we are not going to dive into those things as of now. The reason is that those things are a bit advanced, and we will cover those remaining parts of the controllers once we will reach towards the projects. So I'm keeping those advanced things for our upcoming projects, because those things are very much concerned of a specific projects or related to projects. So there is no need of actually learning those things in the basics, because we have talked about the basics in the controller so far. Okay, so where we have talked about controllers, now let's talk about the form requests. Okay, so let me first of all open a controller and I will explain you like what do I mean by form requests. So where we have the post controller here, and when we were saving the form or the data, so what we were doing is basically we were validating the request by using this request validate method. All right, there is one more way, and that way is called form requests. All right, so how we can generate a form request and what are the benefits of those. So form request is basically a class of the Laravel class which takes the request or which automatically receives the requests that are sent or triggered by the HTTP calls. Remember that HTTP calls basically the web calls, not the console calls. All right, and then they will receive those calls and then they will apply the filters or the validation rules. We can use the validation rules similarly to these things in a separate classes. All right, so let's see how we can generate the form class. Okay, so let me clear out. So it starts by php artisan make request. So basically this is a form request class. So I will name it as post form request and hit enter, and it created the post form request inside the HTTP requests and form request.php. Now one more thing you should keep in mind is that the request folder does not exist by default. All right, so when we create any form requests, then this folder exists. All right, so then this folder is being created. So let's open this newly created class. Now here we see we have two functions given. All right, the first function is authorize, and the purpose of this authorize function is to validate either the request is authorized to go into this class or not. All right, and then the second is basically the rules. All right, so first of all let me take these rules where we have defined them. Yeah, these one, and let's copy them and paste it inside this return array method. All right, like so. And instead of this request class, this facade, we are going to now use post form request, and then I'm going to remove that as well. And inside this title, here we have title required and their description is nullable. Let's open our create file, the post create file, view file. And here okay, so we do not have any required here. So let's open our project in a web browser and move towards the post create page where we are inserting the post into our database. So post / create, and now if I try to submit, I should still, all right, now the error is not occurred, but it says this action is unauthorized. Why are we getting this here? The reason is that we have not set this authorized to true here. All right, so you can apply certain conditions on that. For example, if the user is logged in and the user has certain capabilities or the user is admin, then this form request authorized should be true, else it should be false. But as of now, I am going to set this to true by default. All right, so let's go back, reload, and try to submit the form. Now we still see the title field is required. All right. Similarly, as compared to the request validate method here, now we have a separate class where we can create our own validations. All right. So we now have successfully created a form request and class, and we have learned what the authorize is, what are the rules, but there are a lot of more things here. The first thing I would like to explain is we can create custom messages depending upon our field. We will talk about that in our upcoming videos.